in which our lovers begin to learn the consequences of their actions. Chapter 6. Mashka's knoll was mowed. They finished the last swaths, put on their caftans, and cheerfully went home. Levin got on his horse and, regretfully taking leave of the Mujiks, rode homewards. He looked back from the hill. The men could not be seen in the mist rising from below. He could only hear merry, coarse voices, loud laughter, and the sound of clashing scythes. Sergei Ivanovitch had long ago finished dinner and was drinking water with lemon and ice in his room, looking through some newspapers and magazines that had just come in the post, when Levin, with his tangled hair sticking to his sweaty brow, and his dark, drenched back and chest, burst into his room talking cheerfully. "And we did the whole meadow. How good! It's remarkable. And how have you been?" said Levin, completely forgetting yesterday's unpleasant conversation. "Heavens, what a sight!" said Sergei Ivanovitch, glancing round at his brother with displeasure in the first moment. "The door! Shut the door!" he cried out. "You must have let in a good dozen." Sergei Ivanovitch could not bear flies. He opened the window in the room only at night, and kept the doors carefully shut. "By God, not a one, and if I did, I'll catch it. You wouldn't believe what a pleasure it was. How did your day go?" "Very well. But did you really mow for the whole day? I suppose you're hungry as a wolf. Kuzma has everything ready for you." "No, I don't even want to eat. I ate there. But I will go and wash." "Well, go, and I'll join you presently," said Sergei Ivanovitch, shaking his head as he looked at his brother. Go quickly," he added with a smile, and gathering up his books, he got ready to go. He suddenly felt cheerful himself, and did not want to part from his brother. "Well, and where were you when it rained?" "What rain? It barely sprinkled. I'll come presently, then. You had a nice day, then? Well, that's excellent." And Levin went to get dressed. 5 minutes later the brothers came together in the dining room. Though it seemed to Levin that he did not want to eat, and he sat down to dinner only so as not to offend Kuzma. Once he started eating, the dinner seemed remarkably tasty to him. Smiling, Sergei Ivanovitch looked at him. "Ah, yes, there's a letter for you," he said. "Kuzma, bring it from downstairs, please, and see that you close the door." The letter was from Oblonsky. Levin read it aloud. Oblonsky was writing from Petersburg. "I received a letter from Dolly. She's in Yergoshovo, and nothing's going right for her. Go and see her, please. Help her with your advice. You know everything. She'll be so glad to see you. She's quite alone, poor thing. My mother-in-law and the others are all still abroad." "That's excellent. I'll certainly go and see them," said Levin. "Or else, let's go together. She's such a nice woman. Isn't it so?" "Are they nearby?" "Some 20 miles, maybe 25. But the road is excellent. An excellent trip." "Delighted," said Sergei Ivanovitch, still smiling. The sight of his younger brother had immediately disposed him to cheerfulness. "Well, you've got quite an appetite," he said, looking at his red-brown, sunburnt face and neck bent over the plate. "Excellent. You wouldn't believe what a good regiment it is against all sorts of foolishness. I want to enrich medical science with a new term, Arbeitsgur. Well, it seems you've no need for that." "No, but for various nervous patients." "Yes, it ought to be tried. And I did want to come to the mowing to have a look at you, but the heat was so unbearable that I got no further than the wood. I sat a little, then walked through the wood to the village, met your nurse there, and sounded her out about the music's view of you. As I understand, they don't approve of it," she said. "It's not the master's work. Generally, it seems to me that in the peasants' understanding there's a very firmly defined requirement for certain, as they put it, master's activities, and they don't allow gentlemen to go outside the limits defined by their understanding. Maybe, but I've never experienced such a pleasure in my life, and there's no harm in it. Isn't that so?" Levine replied. "What can I do if they don't like it? Nothing, I suppose, eh?" "I can see," Sergei Ivanovitch continued, "that you're generally pleased with your day." "Very pleased. We mowed the whole meadow, and what an old man I made friends with there. Such a delightful man, you'd never imagine it." "Well, so you're pleased with your day, and so am I. First, I solved 2 chess problems, one of them a very nice one. It opens with a pawn. I'll show you. And then I was thinking about our conversation yesterday." "What?" "Our conversation yesterday," said Levine, blissfully narrowing his eyes and puffing after he finished dinner, quite unable to recall what this yesterday's conversation had been. "I find that you're partly right. Our disagreement consists in this, that you take personal interest as the motive force, while I maintain that every man of a certain degree of education ought to be interested in the common good. You may be right that material interested activity would be desirable. Generally, your nature is much too prima sautier, as the French say. You want either passionate, energetic activity, or nothing." Levine listened to his brother, understood decidedly nothing, and did not want to understand. He was afraid only that his brother might ask him a question which would make it clear that he had heard nothing. "So there, my good friend," said Sergei Ivanovitch, touching his shoulder. "Yes, of course. Anyhow, I don't insist," Levine replied with a childish, guilty smile. "What was it I was arguing about?" he thought. "Of course I'm right, and he's right, and everything's splendid. Only I have to go to the office and give orders." He stood up, stretching himself and smiling. Sergei Ivanovitch also smiled. "You want to have a stroll? Let's go together," he said, not wanting to part from his brother, who simply exuded freshness and briskness. "Let's go and call in at the office if you need to." "Good heavens!" cried Levine, so loud that it frightened Sergei Ivanovitch. "What? What's the matter?" "How is Agafya Mikhailovna's arm?" said Levine, slapping his forehead. "I forgot all about it." "Much better. Well, I'll run over to see her all the same. I'll be back before you can put your hat on." And with a rattle-like clatter of his heels, he ran down the stairs. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.